Hey, what's going on, guys? Justin here with AmericanMuscle.com. Now, with the addition of the 2024 Mustang here recently, that marks the fourth generation of the almighty Coyote 5-liter engine. That's 13 years for you guys keeping track at home, and over those 13 years, the engine itself has seen a lot of changes. Well, we here at AmericanMuscle.com just so happen to have all four generations of the Coyote in a manual transmission. We happen to have a dyno jet behind me, so we figured, hell, let's throw them all on the dyno here today and see how they stack up from gen to gen. So, should be a fun little video for you guys. We hope you dig it. As always, if you do dig it, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more content. In the meantime, let's get that Gen 1 on the rollers. Come on. All right, guys, so we just got the Gen 1 on the rollers here, strapped down. Of course, this is the OG, right? Now, interesting fact here about the Gen 1, 2011 and 2012 made 412 horsepower, 390 pound-feet of torque at the crank. 13 and 14 bumped that up a little bit to 420, 390. Now, as you can see, that's the year we have on the dyno here today, the 2013-14 model. For reference sake, guys, all of the cars we're dynoing here today all have 93 octane in the tank, and we're gonna do the runs in the gear before 1-to-1. I know 1-to-1's ideal, but the reality is none of these cars are tuned, so that 1-to-1 ratio would inevitably hit a speed limiter. So in order to get a nice clean full pull, we're gonna do it in the gear before the 1-to-1 ratio. Guys, not much else to do but fire this thing up and let her rip. All right, guys, so our Gen 1 pool is officially in the books. Again, fifth gear is 1-to-1 in these cars. We did pull it in fourth to get a nice clean pool all the way to redline. And at that rate, we did make 364 horsepower, 349 pound-feet of torque. Again, 93 octane in the tank. This is pretty much what we've come to expect from bone stock Gen 1s. They're not really setting the world on fire as regards to horsepower, but at the same time, you got to respect your elders, right? These are the ones that ushered in an awesome generation of engines, so we're not going to poke too much fun. But up next, we got the mighty Gen 2. Really did take what the Gen 1 started and just built upon it with better flow overall, so let's get that one in next. All right, guys, on the rollers here is the Gen 2 Coyote found in the 2015 through 2017 Mustang GTs. Now, at the crank, this thing is making 435, 400, a substantial bump in power and torque from the Gen 1 thanks to an improved head design, along with better camshafts and much stronger rods. In fact, to this day, the Gen 2 is still kind of referred to as the king daddy, if you will, of the Coyote lineage, just when it comes to power holding capabilities. The Gen 1, safely around 700 wheels, what you should expect to run out of those things. These guys can make 1,000 plus stock block and give you many miles of fun. So when it comes to that 435, 400 at the tires, well, let's pull this thing in fourth gear and see how she does. All right, guys, so we just wrapped up our pool here with the Gen 2 and making some pretty solid power, I would say. Definitely representative of what the difference is at the crank between the Gen 1, Gen 2. So 388, 360 here for our Gen 2 in the fourth gear pool. That's compared to 364, 349 with our Gen 1. That's good for 24 horsepower, 11 pound-feet of torque, wheel to wheel, gen to gen. So again, kind of right in line with what we thought it would do when you're comparing those crank horsepower numbers. Up next, we have the Gen 3. That engine saw a nice little bump in compression and also a little bit more horsepower and torque. So let's get that guy in next. Now, the Gen 3 Coyote ran from 2018 to 2023. That's 5 years, making it the longest running Coyote variant to date. And this engine is producing 460 horsepower, 420 pound-feet of torque at the crank, thanks to a number of revisions here from Gen 2 to Gen 3, namely the big bump in compression. This is a 12-to-1 engine with direct injection and port injection. Also a very, very nice flowing intake manifold and some head revisions, larger camshafts. The list goes on and on, basically making this, I would say, one of the most potent, naturally aspirated Coyote engines there is. Really interested to see how this thing dynos. Typically, they dyno pretty high. In fact, I think it's one of the more underrated engines in the Ford lineage, but let's spin the rollers here and see how she does. All All right, guys, so we just wrapped up our Gen 3 pool here, and as you might expect, the horsepower did go up over the Gen 2. However, interestingly enough, the torque actually dropped a little bit. So car made 402,350. That's a gain of 14 horsepower over the Gen 2 numbers, but we actually lost 10 pound-feet of torque with the Gen 2. So very, very interesting stuff there. But overall, all these horsepower numbers are really aligning with those crank-rated numbers. Really interesting to see what the Gen 4 does. That is up next, and that does pick up a little bit of horsepower from the factory over the mighty Gen 3. So last but not least, of course, we have the Gen 4 here on the dyno in the 2024 Mustang. The new kid on the block, if you will, making 480 horsepower, 415 pound-feet of torque at the crank, thanks to slightly revised calibration, in addition to the all-new intake manifold and dual throttle body and airbox setup. Dyno's been kind of all over the place here with these Gen 4 Coyotes so far, but since we're dynoing everything here today to get the most accurate results, let's pull this thing next and see if it beats out that Gen 3. Well, for our final dyno run here, of course, we're talking Gen 4, and no surprise, it did make a little bit more horsepower than the Gen 3, 410 compared to 402. However, our torque numbers are kind of all off today for some reason with the Gen 4. It's only saying 332. This car's made 350 plus torque before in previous dyno runs, so I don't know what's going on with this dyno today, but regardless, the horsepower numbers pretty much tell the tale here, guys. Incremental increases basically as you progress across the generations, right? And at the end of the day, it looks like we're making about 46 more horsepower at the tires from Gen 1 to Gen 4. And when you figure, you know, the Gen 1's 420 at the crank, this is 480, that's pretty much right in line with your typical drivetrain loss with a manual transmission. So I thought the Gen 4 is going to dyno a little bit higher when we first took delivery of the car, I'm not going to lie, but you know, at the end of the day, it still is, at least on our dyno, an incremental increase over the previous generation. Well, there you have it, guys. Again, really nothing earth-shattering in today's video, but it was a fun little representation or experiment to see how the different generations of Coyotes perform on the dyno, same day with a manual transmission, and the results are pretty much in line with what we thought, with the exception of those torque numbers. Those were kind of all over the place, but the horsepower really was dead on with those incremental increases across the years. Guys, we hope you enjoyed this video. Of course, as always, if you do dig the content, be sure to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. In the meantime, I'm Justin, and for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.